I have so many ideas. I don't know which one to write next. I've seen that question posted on my channel before from lots of people, and I totally get it. That would be me. It's probably why I've published so many books in so many countries, and I've sold a lot of copies, partly because I write fast and I write a lot, and I really, really love to do it. And it has been my main source of income for most of my career. But you gotta be strategic if you want an actual career in this. Now, if you're a hobbyist writer, listen, just keep on doing that. Not a problem. But if you want a career and you want to actually write for a living for your 9 to 5, or you want to be on the New York Times list, or you want to write a book that people talk about, then pay attention, because you've got to decide which is the best idea to work on right now. I remember when I first started writing and I had so many ideas in my head that it was like a herd of monkeys in my head. Wait, is that what you call them? Is a herd of monkeys? Hey, Alexa, what do you call a group of monkeys?
A group of monkeys is called a troop.
A troop of monkeys in my head, all holding up little signs like, pick me, pick me, pick me. And it was hard to know what to write. You gotta think about a few things first before you just let that troop of monkeys just go berserk. First question you can ask yourself is this something I can imagine myself writing 50 of? That was advice I got early on in my career, and it was really good advice. When you have a career as an author, readers start to follow you. Readers like book A, they're going to want book B, C, D, E to be exactly the same kind of book. Like if they follow you because they love your mysteries, they're not going to love it so much if all of a sudden you start writing some kind of science fiction book. I'm not saying you can't cross genres. You absolutely can. But to build a steady reader base, you have to give a steady product that those readers like. I read certain types of books and I don't read others because this is what I like to read. This is what gets me really immersed in the book. I have an entire handout that's free that shows you exactly how to dissect a book and figure out what makes it go together. That link is down below, so don't forget to grab that. Readers are like that. They pick a genre or two and they tend to stick to it. So you need to pick a genre and a type of book that you really like to write. It's hard to build a reader base if you're writing 100,000 word books and then 2,000 word novellas and then some kind of science fiction book and then a mystery and then a romance, and like the readers are like, what's she coming out with next? They may be less inclined to pick up your book if they can't get a predictable experience. Remember, a book is a product and your reader is spending their hard-earned time and money on this book, and they want to have a predictable experience from it. They want to know that you're going to deliver what they paid for. So make sure that what you're writing is something that you could imagine writing a lot of. Does your idea have depth to it? Believe me, I had a lot of ideas that were just ideas. They weren't enough to write a whole book around. Sometimes you just have a great idea and not a great book. So you've got to think, do I have enough meat here? Is there enough of a plot for the character to undergo a lot of trials and tribulations, to overcome a lot of things? Is this a plot that's really going to force the character to face their inner fears and doubts? All of those things really matter when you're trying to choose which idea to work on first. Now, one of the ways to test it is to start writing it. It's not going to hurt you to write it and see what happens when you write a chapter or two. I'll do that a lot of times just to see if I have an idea or a full book. And if I'm really passionate about it, that's another key. If you get into the book and you start writing it and you're like, I don't really care. Like, I don't like these people. Put it aside, start another one. Listen, a book is not a lifelong prison sentence. It is something that you can choose and try. And if it doesn't work, you can move on. You do not have to stick with it. Now, if you're under contract with a publisher, that may be a different story, but then you just have a conversation with your editor and you say, hey, this isn't really working. How about we change it this way? You're not shackled to this idea. And just because you tell your 50,000 followers, I'm writing this book, you don't have to finish it. Like, you can write another one because you find out that this idea is better. If you're passionate about it, it will show on the page. And if you are not passionate about it, that will also show on the page. So it's far better to move on to a new idea than deliver a crappy book. Is this book going to be impactful? I don't generally talk about politics on this channel, but I can tell you that I have learned a lot and had my mind changed about a lot of different subjects because of books that I have read. I personally think that creatives have a job of making people think. It is their task as a creative to bring subjects to light that gives people another perspective. And it doesn't have to be some deep Nobel Prize type thing. There is definitely a place in the world for that kind of writing and that kind of thinking, and I think it's awesome. But also, restoring people's belief in love or giving them a payoff where they see the bad guy gets caught can be a powerful thing. Especially in a world that seems dark, bringing people light and hope is also important. So whatever your message is, I want you to make it impactful. Now, there are books that I have read by authors like Jodi Picoult that have made me rethink how I see certain things. And I think those authors are amazing. I remember reading Barbara Kingsolver's book, Prodigal Summer, a long time ago, and it was super powerful. I think she's an amazing author. She really does make me think. So if you want to be an author like that, go for it. I think that we need more voices like that. But if you just want to be an author that shows a beautiful world where people love each other, I think that's important too. We need more good news in this world. So you have a job ahead of you to make your book impactful. So you've got 15 ideas that you think are great and they are all impactful and you're passionate about all of them and you're so excited to write each of them. And so you write a page of this one and a page of that one and a page of this one, a page of that one. And then you're still stuck in this same place where you're like, okay, I have too many ideas and not enough time to write them all. Totally get that. You have to pick one and stick with it for at least 3 to 5 chapters, because that gives you enough room to see if this is something that can become a book and if it's something that you're passionate about. And remember, I have that free handout. You can just grab it at the link below. Personally, I cannot be in the same place emotionally in a bunch of books at one time. And what I mean by that is it's kind of like going on 3 first dates on Tuesday, 3 second dates on Wednesday, 3 third dates on Thursday. Like emotionally, you cannot progress any further with any one of those people because you're in the same place emotionally with all of them at one time. So for me, I can be in one book on chapter 1 and a different book on chapter 4 and a third book on chapter 12, all at the same time. I can be juggling those 3 because I'm in different emotional places with the book and with the characters and how well I know them. So if you're finding that you have 15 ideas that you're super excited about, pick one to write a few chapters in and move forward with it, see where it goes. You can come back to the other one and work a little bit on it, or just take notes and leave those to the side until you can come back to it. But try not to be working on 5 first chapters at the same time, because you will split yourself emotionally and each of the books will be diluted. So try to pick one at a time. Maybe 2, and don't go too hog wild in too many directions at once. I'm telling you this as a voice of experience because I have written way too many first chapters at the same time. The other fear that a lot of people have that when they have a lot of ideas is, what if I make a mistake? Listen, every book can be revised until it's finally published. And even then, if you're self-publishing, you can always take it down and upload a better edition. Every book has that opportunity for you to make it grow and change. So don't worry so much so that you get stuck in chapter 6 forever spinning your wheels. Just move forward. Let the book finish. Set it aside for a few weeks and come back to it. And that's tough advice to follow. I get it, because I have a really hard time doing that myself. I'm like, oh, I'm done. No, let's send it out. Let's be done with it. Most books are much better off if you set them aside for a few weeks and then come back to them and reread them with a fresh eye, because you'll be able to delve into it with a little bit less of that emotional connection and that high of I finished my book, and be able to look at it a little bit more critically. That said, in between, read a lot of really, really good fiction, because it will tell you what feels right and what doesn't. You got to develop those gut instincts for what is good and what is bad so that you can apply that to your own book. Now, what if you write a really crappy book and you don't know how to fix it? That happened to me too. Remember, I wrote 10 books in 8 years before I sold my first one. That's okay. Go write another one. Crappy books are part of the learning process. Don't publish your first crappy book. Just say, okay, that was book writing 101. Now I'm writing my second book, book writing 202, book writing 303. Sometimes you're just taking a bunch of college courses in learning how to write a book. We may be born with the gift of storytelling, but we're not born with the gift of story structure and how to show, not tell, how to create deep characters, how to create a great black moment, all of those things that I talk about in my Writer's Bootcamp. We're not necessarily born with that. We may have instincts, but we don't necessarily know everything that we need to know. I don't know everything that I need to know. I'm still learning, and that's part of the fun of this job. So feel free to not publish that crappy book and write another one until you feel like the book you are writing and the book that you have produced deserves its place in a reader's hand. Because a reader is giving you time that they are not spending with their grandma, time they are not spending with their kids. They're spending it with your book. Your book has to be worthy of that. That means you got to try a little bit harder. And if you want a career at this, you got to try really hard. And frankly, if you want your book to rise to the top, you've got to be the one that puts in the effort. I know that people really think, well, anybody can publish now, so I should just get it out there and put it on the Amazon and see what happens. No, I disagree with that. Just because the NFL exists doesn't mean that every boy that plays high school football is going to get into the NFL, right? It's a 1% thing, because only 1% of them are good enough to play at a pro level. And only 1% of all the books in the world are probably really worth the reader's time, because a lot of people publish books that are not ready. Just because you can put it on Amazon doesn't mean you should. Make sure that book is as amazing as it should be. And if it isn't yet, go back and revise it. I have an entire series on that. Now, what if you're writing your book and then all of a sudden you have an idea for book 2 and book 3 and book 4 and book 5? That happens to me a lot too. I'm thinking, I'm going to make a whole series out of this. Let me write the book about this sister and that brother and all of that. And then you start to get worried, well, what if I don't build in enough to create a whole series? Listen, write the ideas down on a piece of paper or jot them down in your computer somewhere, and then come back when you're doing your final revision and say, okay, can I leave a few breadcrumbs here? You don't want to lock yourself in too much with a series just in case you start writing book 2 and book 5 and things don't work out, but you do want to put in breadcrumbs. And here's the thing, there is no guarantee that a reader who reads book 1 will also read book 2, book 7, book 15. And there's no guarantee that a reader who reads book 5 is going to go back and buy book 1. So you want each book to be able to stand on its own and to have a powerful story. It is this story right now that you are working on that is the one that deserves your attention, your passion, and deserves for the reader to have a really good experience. So concentrate on one, make it the best book you possibly can, and then write another one. Now, if you're trying to sift through your ideas or you have another question on like, how do I start or anything like that, drop it down below in the comments. And if you want to write a really powerful first chapter, check out this video right here and it'll help you do that. And if you want to learn how to dissect your book or anybody else's, grab that free handout that I mentioned at the beginning. And in the meantime, I will see you on the other side of the page or maybe at one of our live streams or any of the other things that we're doing here on this channel.